If you're listening live, then you know we are halfway through the year, so it's time to talk mindset and realignment to get us on track or back on track for our goals. And we do have the winner announcement, so we're going to go ahead and get started right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
If you're listening live, let's get some engagement. Type an L down below. Let's see who's watching this live. If you're watching the replay, type R. If you're listening to us on iTunes, leave us a review.
Please.
And subscribe to it. And go ahead and subscribe on YouTube and hit that notification bell because we are dropping some more videos in there. And, of course, we're going to be announcing our big winner today of who got the most people into the group, not invited, right?
So yeah, we can't track invites unless people join the group. So to clarify and to put some perspective, everybody did an amazing job. We got a ton of invites, and we had our people working behind the scenes to send reminders and everything. So we were trying to help you guys get as many actual joins as possible. But we'll have the top 3 winners today of the group. Whoever got the 3 most actual members joined, will be announcing those at the end of the show.
And what's the name of the group?
The name of the group
Are you guys going to try this?
is the only real estate group worth being a part of.
On
Is that right?
on Facebook.
On Facebook.
According
The
to
only
Nick.
Facebook real estate group worth being a part of on Facebook.
Yes, so if you're not a part of that, go ahead and request to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
We're doing some great stuff in there. And, like I said, if you're listening live and you're not dead, then we're halfway through the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're in Texas, that's indicated by the 900-degree weather we recently got.
Yeah. What is it? I think the heat index was like 110, something like that.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a tornado coming.
It's a tornado.
Every time we do this show, we spark tornadoes.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fire. I mean, so let's talk. We're going to be talking mindset, of course. Matt just got back from an awesome weekend away of getting his head straight, pounded in by Adam Hergenrother.
Big time.
And then let's talk a little bit about our numbers and are we on track for our goals? Or are we behind? Let's get into some realignment talk. So if you're listening, let us know are you currently ahead? Are you on target for your goal? Or are you behind on your goal? Leave us some comments down below.
Yeah, and I want to break the ice on the goal thing because I was actually thinking about this as I was walking through the parking lot in here. I've told both of you guys this story, and I've never shared it on the show. One of the things that is unique about doing this is we put ourselves in a position to be fact-checked, right? Like, we say a lot of shit on this show, and you can't be like the normal real estate agent who's just out there like pumping up their numbers and stuff, especially like when there's agents in your market who can just go pull your production. So probably, let's see, we're June now, so this would have been late April. I sat bolt upright in my bed and was scared shitless all of a sudden because, I've got big goals. I sold a bunch of houses last year, right? It was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and I get on my phone and open Netris, which isn't the easiest thing to do anyways, right? And pull up my numbers for the year to find out that was not even close to my goals, like off by probably, 50%, right, at that time. And it wasn't the show so much that scared me. There was some other stuff going on, but I had all of a sudden dramatically realized that I had been thinking I was cruising along all year long doing this amazing job and pulled up my numbers and realized I wasn't really doing shit in 2019. And I set a huge goal for myself, which is now fully in action, right? Like, I put a goal to myself that I was going to close 10 deals a month for 3 months in a row to get myself back on track, and we're right there. But it came with all of a sudden the realization, I just had to stop bullshitting myself. Yep. And I must have been having a horrifying dream that woke me up, right? Because I woke up straight out of bed to check my stats on Netris.
I mean, that's better than anything else, right?
Yeah, and it brought ultimate clarity too, right? Like, I don't know what caused me to wake up. I don't know what it was, but that moment has stuck with me, even to the point where, as Brian and I are sitting in the office and putting deals on the board, I'm like, that's not what my goal was, right? I got to get 1 more. I got to get 2 more. So I think, we'll get into this a little bit, but I wanted to share that because I can assure you I am not the only agent who's lying to myself about how great my production's been this year.
Yep. Well, right? I was having dinner last night with a awesome real estate agent and her husband, and we were talking about even like coaching, right?
You have dinner with other people?
I do.
Besides us?
Yeah, I cheated a little bit.
hurts my feelings.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we'd like to explore and see what else is out
He's trying
there.
to grow his network to better people to hang out with.
Yeah.
Guys gotta
I
eat.
heard the grass was greener on the other side. And we were kind of talking about coaching and everything like that, and how these real estate coaches fab their numbers. And there's someone in particular, I'll tell you off air. But we all know who we're talking about. Yeah. And they don't tell the truth on their numbers. They don't sell, but they're selling you a program on how to sell more houses.
Yeah.
And of course, that it was brought up because we're now launching Tour Academy,
Tour Academy.
and we're not calling it coaching. It's not coaching. No, it's a membership to get into the courses that we run in our own business. And so, I mean, if we look at our numbers, like I'll go over my numbers right now. Closings year to date, we're down 8.24%.
Okay.
We are closed volume, and that was the transactions number of closings. Closed volume, we're down 14%. Listings taken, we're down 7%. Closed buyers, we're up 15%.
Okay.
And then closed buyer volume, we're up 32%. So again, now with knowing us through the halfway mark, we're up actually, and I didn't write it down for the month of June. We're actually up in pendings and everything else, but not enough to be ahead of our 14% down in closed volume. But where we can make up that gap is being more aggressive with hitting the phones with sellers, right? And something I said that I made a correction on, or an observation that has held true, is that we refocus on expireds and making sure that as long as we make over 400 calls a day, our contact rate is over 10%.
Yep.
And guess what? Our expired appointments are up and our expired takings are back up.
Yep.
So, knowing your numbers is more important than ever. We don't like to look at them, especially when they're down, right? Because what does that do? That gets you into this negative mindset, like, fuck, man, I'm done. Like, why even call?
Right.
My numbers are down. I can't catch up to this, so might as well just go and watch some reruns a day.
Or just adjust your goals. Like you didn't set a goal at the beginning of the year.
Right,
Like, I'm just going
exactly.
to cut this in half. Like that defeats
Actually,
the entire purpose.
No, actually, I am up.
Right. Exactly.
I'm way up
ahead
from
of the
this
game.
new adjusted goal I've had. And here's the other thing too. If you're anything like me, right? When I'm down, my natural internal personal reaction is to kind of turtle up. I wouldn't say I don't like to. I struggle to push through mentally on some stuff. So when I'm getting my ass kicked, sometimes it's easier just to go sit in the corner and bleed out, right? And when you're doing that in real estate, especially if you're the breadwinner for your family, or you have big plans for your finances, not just for yourself, but for the good it can do, those types of things can be debilitating for some people. So we adjust our goals. That's why we're talking about this mid-year. This is the time most people look at it and all right, we're going into Q3 and Q4, which is traditionally harder, and you haven't hit your goals in the first part of the year. So what the hell makes you think you're going to hit in the second part? And I would encourage everybody who's thinking that right now to reach out to me personally. I have no problem sharing with you what's going on for me actively right now, and what kind of some of the stuff you have to do to push through to achieve that. It's not just call more people all the time, right? Some of it really is for real mindset. You got to talk yourself off the ledge 50 times a day.
100%. And a lot of that is having, I think, one of the biggest, I wouldn't say mistakes, but one of the biggest ingredients that we lack whenever we're doing our goal setting is we all talk about big whys, right? We talk about our big why. Why are we doing this? What is our vision? So on and so forth. That's only half of the equation, right? If your big why is, personal financial freedom, or this big ultimate vision that you have, that's fantastic. Have that. But then define for me what it is going to take to achieve it, right? And the comparable, analysis would be, or analogy would be, I want to drive a car 500 miles an hour, right? I don't know if that's a land speed record, probably not.
No, I
Seems
think
really fast.
it
Is
is
that
fast.
fast?
You go on the salt deserts of Nevada.
Kelly, can you Google that and tell me how fast anyone's ever driven a car? Anyway, right? But you don't really know how to build a car, right? So you just start tinkering, and you have no plan, you don't understand the necessary steps that you're going to need to take to achieve that. This is a terrible analogy, but you get what I'm saying, right? We put it in place I want to have personal financial freedom. I want to achieve these goals, blah, 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 whatever. And then at the business planning clinic or beginning of the year, whatever, we just put a goal in place. It's I want to sell 50 houses this year.
Yep.
We're but okay, so how does that speak on a year-by-year basis to your ultimate goal, right? What do you do with the money? What is the next step, right? How do you manage your business? take me on the course, take me through the roadmap of how accomplishing this gets you to step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, then ultimately the realization of your vision, right? So like my big why has to do with passive income, right? And you have to reverse engineer that to go, okay, if I want this amount of passive income by this level in my life or this age or whatever, I could take the very extreme route, which gets me there in this amount of time by doing these things with my money, right? Selling this amount, putting this much away, investing it like this, and it will get me to here. I have the more reasonable, realistic route, and then I have the one that if I just screw around, hopefully I'll get there by the time I'm dead, right? Yep. And we don't make that connection. So it's really easy for us to go, I want to set this really exorbitant goal, this ridiculous, super crazy goal at the beginning of the year, and then do like you just said, adjust it down halfway through because there's no way we're going to hit it. Well, the reason that we get analysis paralysis, the reason that we want to go lie in the corner and just bleed out is because on July 4th, the 2010, the Bugatti Veyron.
Veyron.
I am not
ever
classy
afford
enough
one.
to even know how to say that.
I think it's Veyron.
Reached 400. Can you give me this in miles per hour? Oh, it says it at the bottom. 431 kilometers an hour, 267.856 miles per hour. Is that the record?
I think Google's wrong. That seems
I
like
feel like
slow.
somebody's gone faster than that in a car.
Obviously not 500.
Maybe that's production car. Anyway, where was I? But so it gets really easy to go and do what you said, go and bleed out in the corner, right? And just shut out the world and have analysis paralysis and all those types of things, because there is nothing that is tethering those day in, day out, or year in, year out, very specific goals to our greater vision, right? If we don't understand how what we're doing right now speaks directly to our ultimate vision, it's very easy for us to be like, do I really need to sell 100 houses a year? Or like, do I just need to put my food on the table and just get through this month, right? It's so much easier to do that when we don't make that connection.
Well, and that's the other thing too, right? Like sometimes it's not, and I know I struggle with this. Sometimes you're almost casting like too big of a vision, and not meaning that the people around you don't see it, but sometimes people are just worried about paying their damn rent, right? Like it's not always about that. And the brokerage that we're currently at, when I first joined up 3 years ago or whatever, everybody was like, what's your big why? What's your big why? I hated that question so much, because I felt like as a husband and father, it should generically default to providing for my family. And what I had to mentally get over, first off, was, for me personally, that's not my big why, because that is part of the built-in responsibility of what I signed up for as a husband and father. That doesn't make me get out of bed. I was already getting up to go kick ass to make sure my family was provided for. That wasn't a big enough deal. But we talk about love languages on here not all the time, but we
talk
all
a lot
talked
about love
Nick's got a
languages.
6th love language, and mine's somewhat connected to that. But honestly, I don't want money necessarily for me. Candidly, I haven't had a whole lot of money most of my life. I'm not going to miss it very much. But I do truly, truly enjoy giving people things. Like, and not for the way it makes me feel, right? But it's one of the things I really, really enjoy doing. And the thought of having enough money where you could freely give to whatever cause, to whatever person. Adam talks about strategic giving, right? He's got, not only does he have charities he gives to, you got to figure a guy like that, he gets hit up all the time for different types of money. So he's got a soft spot for kids, right? Like I think that's an amazing thing. Any charity that involves kids, I think you'd be an ass if you thought that was a terrible charity to give to, right? So he obviously has this huge heart for these certain things, and he strategically gives in his personal life. Not stuff that's a tax write-off. Maybe it's $100 to somebody, to the waiter at the pizza shop around Christmas, right? That's the kind of stuff where, because I've been at that point in my life. As a kid growing up, not having a bunch of money and being on government assistance and those types of things, and then even being a grown-up and getting yourself to the edge plenty of times financially, people who are in that position, the times I've been in that position, when there is something that just comes through financially where somebody helps you out, there is no greater overwhelming sense of gratitude and feeling somebody else giving you that love back when they bail you out. Not because you need the money, but because they were willing to do that. So to be able to provide that for somebody else, that for me that's the reason I want money. I would have given half of it away.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, well, that is my 6th love language is money. Yeah. And look, we talk about big whys, and that's not something we were initially scheduled to talk about on here, but it's okay to not necessarily have a it's okay to not necessarily have a family big why or whatever, right? Like, when I first joined the brokerage that we're with as well, they talked about that all the time too, and I'm like, I just want to make a shit ton of money. And the team leader at the time was like, no, that can't be your big why. I'm like, why not? right? And then as I got married and have kids, I do have that wide, not just for them, but like my wife, I think I've said it before, is to create generational wealth that I can keep haunting my family for generations, right? I want a big picture over the fireplace of me just looking
He
down.
names their estate after him.
Yes, yes. And
Just a big picture over the mantle, so disapproving at what you've bought with his money.
It would be like the one that Heather posted the other day where it's just absolute chaos around him and Nick
Yes.
standing there picture
you
ready.
have not, friend. Can you make that public? So good.
yeah, Heather, make
Glorious.
that public. It's on my page, so if it's I'm tagged in it, so I'm a public page.
It's good.
You can go see what we're talking about on there. But like that's my goal of living forever, right? I mean, I don't ever want to be buried. I actually want to be frozen. So, I have that on record.
Nice.
Heather, like you can't bury me. Like I need to be frozen, like like forever young, right? Is
We
that
had
that
to
movie?
we're starting to fill out our wills and stuff, my wife and I, and she asked if we want to be cremated. And I was like, well, if you get cremated, can you still get a tombstone? And I was like, or she was like, I mean, I guess. Which I don't know if there are other regulations on that.
No, I think you can do whatever. Have you seen the new one where they cremate you and then put your dust in the dirt and then grow a tree with you in
See,
somebody's
that sounds
backyard or
great.
whatever?
Because I really want a tombstone. Because she's like, wow. It's like, because I want an awesome inscription. And it's just going to say, there's a dead person under here. Because that's how I'm going to haunt people. All these really sad people for generations to come are going to be walking through the cemetery on the day of their loved one's funeral. They're going to be so somber and just so sad. And they're going to just be scrolling the headstones. And they're just going to see there's a dead person under here. And they're going to be like, what?
He's doing bits. on
What?
his
I'm doing
gravestone.
bits.
I mean, if I were to do a tombstone, I would put it in my will to make it. I wouldn't want a new one every quarter with different sayings on there, right?
It's like updating your status or whatever.
100%.
Yeah. And someone actively monitoring my Facebook page and just making posts. It's dark down here. So Kelly asked, like, where will my frozen body be stored? It's actually in Arizona. There's a place in Arizona that does all this, and you can get a life insurance policy.
Okay.
That when you decide to go, they'll come and get you and then freeze you and then ship you over there, and you can choose your head or your whole body.
Yeah, don't go to that place they took Ted Williams.
I think that's
Cut his head
yeah.
off, put it in a bucket or
Well, he
whatever,
chose-
unfroze it
yeah,
or some
he
nonsense.
chose to just do his head, not his whole body.
Are there
Seems
options
pointless
you
to
can carry out for later, like to be unfrozen at a certain point in time?
Well, once they actually can resuscitate you.
Oh.
That's, I think that's the
Be
option.
like
no, like-
Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone. They
I
need
was-
Nick 40 years from now, so they bring him out to
So
sell
the technology,
houses.
right? The technology has to be, you can't do any Weekend at Bernie stuff.
Not yet.
You can't just be like, hey, take me out in 10 years when my grandkids are old enough to take me to the Hamptons
Yeah.
and do some cool Weekend at Bernie's type
Yeah.
stuff.
I just want to make sure that.
Probably so many liabilities involved in that.
Yeah. So.
What were we talking about?
I mean,
knows?
talking about our mindset and our goals. So let's go back. I mean, if you're not on track with your goal, what can you sit down and reanalyze, like why you're not? So, I mean, when I was doing this today and really breaking this down, I mean, of course, there's a domino effect on this that started, when I started complaining about expireds not answering the phone,
Yep.
and I dug in deep, we're not hitting them enough, and being down. Jennifer asked, like, one of her questions was, let me go back up here. Up in buyers but not in listings. Is it because listings are sitting longer, or is it because working with buyers, ready to go buyers are easier? And so, we're actually down in the number of listings we've taken by, I think we're down 7%. So there's a twofold approach to that. One, listings are taking longer to sell, right? So we need to do a better job of setting expectation. And I do think that there's a little bit of a hangover effect on, maybe the people feel like they missed the boat a little bit.
Yep.
Or then we're also losing to some iBuyers, some corporate investors, hedge funds. And I was talking with one of our leaders today, and they were talking about how that could roughly make up about, between Open Door, Zillow, and all that, about 10% of the purchases.
Yep.
So that makes sense being down a little bit. We just have to do a better job of getting in front of people, right? And so what does that mean? I mean, unfortunately, it means we have to do a better job of putting effort in, being more intentional with our effort. We talked about this. I mean, hopefully it's okay. We can talk about this. You guys lost some team members.
I actually just did it even though he didn't answer. He was
Yeah,
like,
look,
I hope we
I-
can
I-
talk about this. Your
we were
parents are
working
dead?
with
I'm
some-
like, wait, what?
But at the same
Get
time,
my permission.
I also
What are you-
I lost a team member today. And the funny thing is, the reasoning is the same reason for yours, is not wanting to the effort that is involved in order to take the amount of business and the work that needs to be involved to to win today,
Right.
it's a lot harder.
And it's not. And here's the thing is too, right? Like and we told our team this yesterday. It's not about performance. I don't think. I think it's the mindset around performance.
Yep.
Because in order to be coachable, one, you have to be honest and you have to be really humble. You have to be willing to. You have to be, even when reevaluating your goals, right? That's where we started with this. You have to be able to go back and look and honestly say, why am I not hitting these goals?
Yep.
It's probably not because you were putting in max effort.
Yep.
Almost assuredly. And when people are really faced, and we talk about that even with the Tour Academy stuff we're doing, right? Like, this is really actionable stuff.
Yep.
And the question is, do people want actionable stuff? Or do they want memes
Do they
with
want to be
really
pumped
slick
up?
hashtags on them to keep them pumped up? Because it makes them feel really good in the moment.
Yep.
But then when it doesn't work out, they didn't really put a ton of effort into
Yeah.
it. They didn't have to think a lot about it. And that's really what it is. I think for most people, they're just going to go back to some other shit job where they've got to work a bunch. It's not about the actual physical activity.
Yep.
It's the mindset around the physical activity. And they either assume there's something easier, or they just assume that, specifically in our situation, don't know what the hell we're talking about, right? And there must be some easier way, so let me go find that.
Yep.
Well, I mean, a buddy of mine, and I think you guys may know him, Brent Hicks.
Yeah.
He's a big time
Yep.
lender.
Yep.
He was doing a talk one time, and he's like, "Look, if you're 99% in, that means you're 100% out,
Yep.
right? And so if you're giving 99% effort, that means you're giving 100% non-effort, right? Because you're leaving that extra 1% on that table, not doing everything that you could be doing." And when we lose an opportunity, or even when a contract falls out, we this is something I talk with my staff, and my operations person Stephanie hates when I do this, but I'm like, did we do everything we can to make sure that contract stayed alive?
Yep.
And if they say yes, then I will throw out some scenarios, and I almost 100% of the time, so it's actually 100% of the time, they'll be like, well, I didn't try that. So we didn't go, all the way.
Yep.
Right? And it's the same thing on our lead gen. We are, if you're leaving today or whenever you're listening to this and you did not set an appointment, did you go 8, 10, 12 hours? Did you truly put in that effort to set one appointment to get at least one on the board?
Yep. And that's Matt said something really, really insightful years ago. I remember that. It's always stuck with me. We were talking about just agent productivity and things, and this was way back when I was in leadership, and we were in my office talking, and he said something jokingly about how there are 0 agents out there that are at the end of the year going, man, I gave 110% effort every day. I held open houses 3 days a week. I made 500 phone calls a day. I knocked 2,000 doors this year. I just couldn't sell any houses. I have no idea how that happened. Like, that does not happen, right? And so when you're talking about your goals and you're off track or things like that, it's so easy to screw your own mindset over and just say, I'm going to adjust my goals because of this or that or whatever, right? The conversation, going back to what you just said about being honest, if you cannot honestly sit there and say, I did everything I could to be on track at this point, then you don't deserve to adjust your goals, because you're just going to adjust them again when you don't hit your new goals, right? And going back to, we've all parted ways with some people, and this is an ongoing thing in business. We've parted ways with tens of dozens of people in our lifetimes or in our careers or whatever. Tens of thousands of people, right? And it comes down to a lot of really basic stuff. The excuses and the reasons come in different shapes, but they mostly are speaking to the same thing, and that is, I don't want to put in maximum effort right now because I feel like it's going to suck up too much of my life and I will be miserable and I won't be able to enjoy myself, right? And if that's your excuse, whether it's conscious or subconscious, whether you're outwardly saying that or if you're just or whether you're just portraying that through your actions every day, you are selling yourself short, because you're saying that this life that you have right now, the one where you're struggling to grow your business, the one where you are not hitting your goals, the one where you are so confused and so far away from your ultimate vision, if you're saying that life is better and more important to you than the one that you could be living 5 or 10 years from now, you don't deserve that life, bro. Like, if you just cut the bullshit, cut the excuses, and just put your nose to the grindstone for even 3 years, you would be transformed. You wouldn't even recognize your life in 3 years. And most people are not willing to do that. They're just not willing to do that.
It's the same thing with working out, right? Like, and I did this forever as a teenager and even as a young adult, right? Every 6 months I'd be like, son of a bitch, if I just started working out 6 months ago, I'd have a six-pack now. I'd look great with no shirt on. Did I get up that day, though, and start working out? No. It's all crap we tell ourselves, thinking that someday it's going to get better. We've got some young people on our team. I just turned 40. Part of our conversation with them yesterday was this exactly. It doesn't change. You're not going to miraculously get older and more responsible. You're not going to miraculously get older and have a better mindset. If anything, it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to get older, fatter,
More hard-headed.
uglier,
Yep.
tired. Right? Like all these things are going to happen where the world doesn't see you as a valuable asset anymore. And it's going to compound in difficulty in performing at a high level. And at the end of the day, nobody truly gives a shit about your success other than you.
Yep.
So if you're waiting for somebody to come along and be like, oh, Brian, come on, I'll walk you to the finish line. You're going to have moments like that.
Yeah.
You're going to have moments where the sun shines through and everything looks fantastic.
Yep.
But if you are sitting there waiting for somebody else to come along and change your mindset for you or give you some really cool 140 character thing that's going to make you see the light all of a sudden, it is not happening.
No, and if
for anybody.
especially if you're right, like when you have kids or you get married or whatever, you get into a certain stage in life, maybe you get inherently a little bit more responsible and things start to seem a little bit more real for you. But by then you have obligations that really can make your life more difficult, right? If you're like, for the people that are listening or watching this or whatever, if you're in your early to mid 20s, you're not married and you're not doing anything else right now, you have no excuse.
Go get it.
Right?
Dude.
Like
what are you doing?
And sometimes that's the hardest time to really buckle down because you're going like your friends are not a great influence usually. They're just doing whatever. You feel like you have so much time. You feel like you have so much time to figure it out. If you are 25 or under or even 27, 28 or under listening to this and watching it and you are not putting forth every ounce of energy you have towards realizing your life's vision, I have no sympathy for you. None. Because you are in the prime of your life and you're doing nothing about it. And that's crazy to me.
Well, and even if you are, not young like us, there's still that opportunity to go ahead and change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can change direction. It's the same thing, if you're not in the best of health, guess what? You start today, stay consistent with it,
Yep.
and in 6 months, 3 months, you're gonna feel a lot better, right? And it's the same way in your business. And I am thinking about just putting this, maybe I'll even make this a challenge and I'll go and do this every day in the group, but I'll show you my lead gen every day.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I've slacked on our recruiting. When I go look at our numbers down, that means I've done a piss poor job of coming in and adding new team members
Right.
to our team.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that hurts us from a company side. And part of me is like, all right, let me just show you what that looks like lead gen wise, and just be more consistent. I make excuses like, oh, we got a great group,
Right.
but we also need to be always bringing talent into our world, right? So if your business isn't there, today's a great day to start.
Today's a great day to start. And rather than, so we all run a little bit larger businesses than most of the people probably that are watching or listening to the show. And so we're able to kind of dive into the metrics and make adjustments. For the individual agent, a lot of it just is buckling down and doing the damn work. If you're off on your goals, you probably don't have to do a lot of digging to figure out why. You've just got to come to the terms with the fact that this is going to be harder than you thought it was going to be.
Yep.
And if you want it, then go get it. If not, it is what it is.
And if you want your weekends back, then work during the week, right? Like, you know what I mean? Don't come into the office and leave at 4. Nick said that earlier, right? The agents, when I used to teach classes, I would always tell them this, because agents come into the class at 9 a.m. in the morning and they're all jazzed up. And the whole time you're teaching the class, they're pumped. And I would always say something about the middle of every class. If you guys don't have children to take care of or a second job to go to, and when this class is over at 11:30 or 11:45, you pack up your stuff and you go home and say, tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the day I
Tomorrow's
figure out
the
real
day.
estate. You are probably not going to make it in this industry. The second you have your license, that's it. You are in real estate now, my friend.
And honest, dude, we talk about, this is just on an empirical level. Like a lot of the suggestions that we're going to make to our team members or people that are part of our membership program and all this type of stuff, they're going to make you uncomfortable and they're going to seem pretty extreme. Guess what? To be in the elite in this world, you're going to have to do some extreme stuff. We have gotten every excuse in the book as to why you can't do this. I've got too much other stuff going on. I've got this and I got that. All right, what time do you get up in the morning? Cool, get up 3 hours earlier. I don't care if that's 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't care.
Yeah.
I do not care.
Yep.
There is dude, look around you at the world that human beings have built. Do you really think this would be possible if there were not some extraordinary people out there, and you could be one of them by doing extraordinary things and taking extreme action. If you're not willing to do that, I do not want to hear your excuses.
It's not comfortable for people to let go of their bullshit, right? Like Adam told this story this weekend, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but this is a perfect time to bring it up. So you know how they catch monkeys in India? Which this is a thing. Like, this is a real thing. They catch monkeys in India, right?
Big industry.
I know, it's a big industry, right? And this whole thing can be taken out of context if you don't try very hard, but we're going to go with it anyways. So they essentially take a banana and they put it in a jar, right? Just like a mousetrap with cheese. The monkeys come up and stick their hand in the jar and grab the banana. As the person, the monkey catcher, is walking up to them with, I guess, zip ties or rope or something. I don't know what the hell you put on them. The monkey starts losing its mind, trying to get away.
Yeah.
But the moron monkey won't let go of the banana. If he just opened his hand and let go of the banana, his hand slides right out. He runs off to go get bananas another day. But they don't do that.
Yep.
They're so attached to the banana that they stay stuck in one place and they end up getting caught. And all of us have a banana in a jar,
Yep.
right? Every single one of us had this stupid ass thing that we won't let go of because we think somehow it matters.
Yep.
We think somehow it defines us, right? My drive is too long and my car guzzles gas. Sell your car and get one that's more affordable on gas, right?
100%, man.
The reason you're not finding solutions to your problems is because you're not asking the right questions.
Yep.
You're looking at it as, how can I keep everything I currently have now, but also increase my life?
That's the big
It doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
There is sacrifice that comes with it. You will work weekends. You will put in long hours. You will lose some time with the family. If you do that strategically, you will gain so much in the very short 3 to 5 years that we're talking about.
Yep.
And I posted this on my Facebook yesterday, and I stole it from somebody else. And Gretchen Rubin, so at least I can give credit to her. The days are long, the years are short, and I'm telling you, the older you get, the faster that shit goes, man. When I was 25, a year seemed like it took forever.
Yep.
Now I am begging for the months. I can't believe it's June already of my 40th year on this planet, right? Like, the years start going really fast when you've got less of them.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and you've really got to focus on that. I think specifically when you're younger, because it's easy to think there's plenty of time, and there is, but not so much that you can just waste a decade or a half a decade jacking around.
And going back to asking those questions, right? Like, that's a really, really good exercise to do. The quickest way to figure out what it is that you need to do to put yourself in a position to get to the next level or whatever it is, you've got to be honest with yourself, right? But we've all got excuses as to why we can't do certain things.
Yep.
Just humor yourself for a minute. And whatever it is that you feel is holding you back, just imagine if you weren't allowed to use that as an excuse, right? For a brand new agent, right? It's, I don't know enough. Just imagine if you weren't allowed to use that as an excuse. Now you start to ask a question, how can I make that not an excuse? What do I need to do, right? I've got 3 kids and I'm a single parent, and so they take up a ton of my time. I totally understand that. I don't empathize with that because I don't have 3 kids. I sympathize with that, right? Imagine if you couldn't use that as an excuse. Just imagine if you couldn't. For some reason, you could not use that as an excuse. Now you have to think how to overcome that, right? We put excuses in front of us. We put obstacles in front of us because that lets us off the hook. That allows us to try our best, quote unquote, with what we're working with, without ever having the responsibility to change our circumstances for the better. Just imagine if you were not allowed to use those excuses. What would you be forced to figure out? What would you be forced to overcome if you weren't allowed to? Think about that, and I guarantee you your mindset will change.
So speaking of that, so Jewel Marsh says she agrees with everything we're saying right now.
Jewel is a guy.
Yeah.
What's up,
Yeah.
Jewel?
Yeah.
Jewel, he.
Yeah.
I don't know who Jewel
That's our
is.
man.
Yeah. So
was
one
it? Is that a
caveat
Jewel
though.
song?
One caveat though. Sometimes it doesn't matter someone's potential, work ethic, and willingness to push through if they never get exposure to the tips, tricks, and knowledge of how to do something at the 1% level or higher, right? And so that leads into, here it is. This is a call to action. So get your pens out. Write this down.
Yep.
Tor Academy.
ToreAcademy.com.
TORE Academy.com.
Tor Academy, TORE Academy.com. You can actually go there now. Can I do a quick sidebar on this story?
Brian's been working his ass off on this.
No, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
It's really great.
I almost burned it all down yesterday, though. I was on Google support arguing with a gentleman who claimed to go by the name of Neil, but I don't think that was his real name. Let me tell you what happened. All I was trying to do was forward the domain Tor Academy to our sign-up page. I bought the domain Tor Academy a long time ago. the email address that I originally signed it up with, I changed the username of that email address, which when I went to go redirect the domain, it couldn't find the email address that I signed the domain up with. So I got on little Google support and I was like, hey, the guy came up, he's like, my name's Neil. I was like, I doubt it. And I was like, but can you help me? All I need to do is get this domain forwarded, but it won't let me in because I changed the email address, and the other email address I signed up with doesn't exist. And he was like, okay, what email address did you use? And I was like, it's this one. He's like, that email address doesn't exist. I was like, God damn it, Neil. I just said that. This is such a simple problem. And so I was like, this is the new email address that I changed it to. Can you show me how to get access to this? And he was like, all right, just give me 1 second. He comes back. He's like, are you sure you use that email address? Because I'm not showing that email address anywhere. I was like, I know, Neil, because I changed. Neil, I swear to God. And he was like, 100% sure, are you? And I was like, Neil, are you talking shit right now? And we went back, and this was like 5 hours of my life yesterday. I was like, we finally got to a crescendo. I was like, here's what's going to happen, Neil. If we can't solve this today, I'm going to send you a package. I'm going to send it to Google Studios or wherever you work.
I'm sure Neil is not answering.
And it's going to say
the
Neil, and you're going to get the package. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is a package from somebody who loves me. Me, Neil, the nicest guy in the world. And you're going to open it thinking it's going to be an amazing care package, probably some candies or whatever Neil likes to eat. And all that's going to be inside it is these hands. If you do not help me solve this problem, Neil.
Jesus.
Anyway, I ended up figuring it out on my own. Didn't need him. So I exited the chat abruptly and hopefully ruined his day. The bottom line is touracademy.com is up now.
And
Thanks to Neil.
Yes, and Derek threw that up on the screen. So
Thank you, Derek.
Thank
Nice,
you, Derek. And look, and let's talk about obstacles and making excuses. That's $97 a month.
Yeah.
Nothing.
That's nothing to go and see what like Jewel was saying. Like a lot of these people they don't get to be in front of the 1%. They don't know what's doing. These are actionable items that's working in our businesses, and we have proof, straight proof behind it.
Yeah.
That you can now go learn $97 a month.
Dude,
That's
and we are
nothing.
going all out on this thing. The amount of content, courses, stuff that we're putting in there. We're going to get 2 calls with us and some other people every single month where we're diving really deep. We are seriously, we're pulling back the curtain on our businesses on a very, very, very granular level. And we're just showing you exactly what we do. Like no BS, no fluff, no hypothetical stuff. It's all serious, actionable stuff. I mean, this thing is going to keep you busy forever. And we're making a commitment that we're going to constantly update it. I mean, our businesses are always changing. The industry is changing. Everything is evolving. So for $97 a month, you are going to get a lifetime program that is ever evolving as things change, which is really, really cool.
Well, I want to speak to kind of what Jewel said too, right? Because whether it's for him or for anybody else who has that limiting belief around the tips, tricks, and tools or getting in front of the top 1%, dude, I'm a knucklehead college dropout guy who was a bartender for 15 years. Part of getting in front of that group is starting to expose yourself as well.
Yep.
Right? You have to be willing to put yourself out there in the same ways you would be willing to accept that rejection over the phone or door knocking or whatever. Yep. All of this is part of the same thing. I didn't start talking to David Anderson, the CEO of Lion Desk, right? That came through another relationship we had. That was through another relationship that I can trace all the way back to Nick, that I can trace to Teresa Flood. You can go through these 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that get you to these amazing people, but that does not come from you just showing up in classes at your brokerage and then going home. It doesn't happen that way. You have to reach out in order to find those people.
And that's it's just Tony Robbins 101, man. It is really, really, really easy to say you don't have the resources when you're not trying to be resourceful.
Yeah.
So before we switch gears to what Matt learned over the weekend while getting his head kicked in, I think he almost drowned. But before we hear about that, go ahead and share this out because you want agents on this one. You want people to come and tune in on this, and leave us a comment if you're watching. I know I see Subi Garbia just joined us. Mark Gingrich just joined us. So leave a Hunter Miller. So leave an L if you're watching live. Hit R if you're type R if you're watching the replay. If you're watching on YouTube, make a comment, subscribe, and then on iTunes, leave us a review. But Matt, tell us about this Project U weekend. So you flew out, what, Friday?
Thursday morning.
Super
early Thursday morning. Wednesday night, it wasn't happening. Like part of I think the power of this trip for me was it was removed, right? Like with disappointment. I was bummed I couldn't go. And last minute I was able to go, had some help from the awesome people in my life to get me there, people rearranging schedules, doing all kinds of shit. So I went into it with a mindset of gratefulness anyways. and it's the wealth building phase. So all of this is in quarters, right? We focused on fitness in the first one, whatever, and then which was great. But we went in the wealth building one, and I was going in there expecting somebody to tell me how to go raise capital to buy shit, and how I'm gonna all of a sudden start making $20,000 a month, and all my money problems are gonna go away. And that information was there, right? And it's actionable, but like anything, there's time on task that needs to be put into it, and there's some growth. The thing that came out of it the most this weekend was the joy attachment to money, right? And not so, like I said earlier, I'm not super attached to money, but obviously everybody needs it to get stuff done. And I've got big goals for myself and my family and the people around me. So I need money to make those things happen. But I've been looking for money. And honestly, my whole life, I've been looking for ancillary stuff that makes me happy, right? If none of you are familiar with Michael Singer, he wrote The Untethered Soul. He's a very reclusive guy, but if you go on YouTube, you can find about 10 or 12 videos from him that are worth listening to. One, he's very, very calming to listen to anyways. And he talks on this really high level that you're not going to get. It sounds like all conjecture at first because the guy really has transcended, I think, even being a human being. He's so spiritually calm, it's unreal. But you listen to the stuff that he says, and he brings up this analogy about, if somebody was to write down on a piece of paper what made them happy, right? We write down all the generic things: travel, family, to feel loved, all of these types of things. And my list includes all of those items as well. But not in the sense that I'm wanting those things for my sense of fulfillment, because internally I'm not 100% fulfilled in what I'm doing in life, right? It shouldn't matter what's happening on the outskirts in my internal joy. And I focus way too much on what do people think, right? The fact-checking aspect of being on this show.
Yep.
I'm worried about other agents checking me out,
Yep.
right? I'm worried about what people think on social media, right? I'm worried about all these things that really don't matter. And it was a really cool weekend. The place we were at was in the middle of nowhere, so there's no TVs, internet service did not work, so you're kind of forced to think about yourself. And
Big chairs.
Yeah, huge chairs. Yeah, if you want to see a giant chair, go to my Facebook page. So it was a really cool weekend for me to be able to focus on really some of the stuff that was kind of broken in me and my unhealthy relationship with money, and what I feel like wealth would do to me. I've made more money every single year of my life since I was 18. And I can tell you, I am more stressed out than I have ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
Right? There is nothing about the money that I am bringing in that has made my life fundamentally easier. And look, don't even comment down below with that, well, you got money, so you don't really know. I'm a broke kid. I grew up broker than almost everybody on this thing, so I fundamentally know what it's like to walk into the gas station with the brown $1 food stamp. That's some old school shit, right? Like, so if it's not about, like, my unhealthy relationship with money isn't about wanting more of it. It's about determining my value through it. And I was able to get a lot of clarity with that this weekend, and it was pretty cool.
And that's sort of the educational aspect of it. I think most people, I would agree with you 100%. I am in no way has money made my life less stressful, right? It does nowadays, I think, just because I've learned what I want to do with it, and I'm working towards that ultimate vision every single day. For the most part, when people just make more money through hard work or whatever it is, they just buy more stuff. They just accumulate things. And from somebody who's accumulated a lot of things, I can tell you they don't make you any happier. And so, yeah, without that knowledge, without that wealth building mindset, right, without understanding what sort of life you can live, right, in a fulfilling way, not a things way, money will probably make you more stressed because you'll just accumulate more liabilities for the most part.
It's hard because I think money and people tend to be our most difficult problems, and they get lumped together. And for me, I because I'm a people pleaser, I truly care about what people think about me, right? Like to the point where if I didn't know somebody didn't like me yesterday, I would be unaffected by it.
Yeah.
But if you were to tell me today that somebody didn't like me, all of a sudden it's all consuming. And I'm curious why, and maybe you even want to reach out to that person, which is probably just going to make it worse. Right? Michael Singer tells this analogy about a penny, and I won't belabor it too much, but essentially, if you found out in your neighborhood there was a 1942 Denver Minton penny worth $6 million, you would, but the day before you had no clue it was there, you would be elated, right? You would be going all over your neighborhood, buying things and asking for 92 cents in pennies back and looking at every stinking penny, right? And then you look down and you see this penny and it's a little bit dirty, but you see 1942 on it. And you rub it away, but it's a P for Philadelphia. It's worthless. It's worth a fucking penny, right? And all of a sudden you feel this dejected feeling of loss over a penny that you didn't know existed 48 hours prior, right? If we're honest with ourselves, we do that about a lot of shit. We put a lot of stuff on our plate that has nothing to do with what we're really trying to accomplish, and then act like something was removed from our life by losing it.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I could probably count on one hand the amount of things I actually need to be fulfilled.
Yep.
And I'm trying to do 30 or 40 things at once. And it's it's going to give me a heart attack.
Yep.
And I'm going to waste my prime years looking for something that I don't even care about. And at the end of the day, I'll accumulate all this wealth only to find out that I might as well give it away because it didn't do anything that I wanted it to do.
Yep, 100%.
Right? And so I was able to get a lot of clarity around that this weekend, come back in a headspace where, you know, I'm on this giant spinning planet just doing stuff, and there's no way for me to know the person in front of me in traffic, what kind of day they're having, or you know, the client whose deal falls apart, or the buyer who calls me and says, hey, I know you showed us 10 houses already, but we're actually not going to buy a house at all anymore. None of those people want to be that way.
Right.
Even the people who I think are dejected messes, I don't think anybody fundamentally wants to be miserable.
Right.
They are just as stuck as everybody else is, right? So just coming back with a little bit of clarity around that was probably the biggest thing I took away from it. And that's going to lead me into the wealth building aspect.
Yep.
Because the second I believe, and Adam says, and I'll trust Adam because he's doing all right, the second you stop worrying about money because of what your immediate need for it, it will start showing up in other ways, right? It will absolutely start showing up in other ways.
Hell yeah.
So that was kind of in a nutshell what I took away.
I love it.
Yeah, I did too.
We got to wrap it up pretty soon. Let's do this.
I know.
We are headed into third quarter.
Yes.
Mindset's got to get right. One at a time. What's the one sentence piece of advice you're going to give people to readjust their mindset for Q3?
Do it consistently, whatever you choose.
That's good.
That is good. I would say, again, mine has nothing to do with work. Whatever it is that you're obsessing about, stop waiting for the thoughts to go away. Like, don't worry about thoughts going away. As somebody who's struggled with anxiety for 40 years, you're not going to stop obsessing over your stuff. Recognize that most of it probably doesn't matter. And in that moment, find out where that weird feeling is coming from. And everybody, it manifests differently. For me, it's right in the middle between my stomach and my chest. That's where all that physical anxiety radiates from.
Yep.
Sink into it, go into it, and be aware that it's there, and acknowledge it, and let it pass right by. And do that consistently. When I said 50 times a day, guys, I'm not kidding. I tell myself, stay open, don't close up, multiple times a day. And if you do that with the little stuff, it will start manifesting into bigger stuff.
Yep.
But don't expect all of that to go away in a day. Just start telling yourself today, in those moments, you're not going to let that thing bother you. And see what happens.
I love it. I love it. I tell the team all the time, if you want to be a badass, just do badass stuff.
Yes, sir.
Right? Everything that you need to accomplish your goals is within your reach. Even if you don't have the resources right now, you have the resourcefulness to go create or find those resources. But if you can't come home at the end of every day and look yourself in the mirror and say that you did everything that you could today to get to further your goals, it is nobody's fault but your own.
Yep. Well, make sure, guys, seriously, touracademy.com. Oh, Mick's got something. Hang on.
We got to announce the winners.
Oh,
God. Jesus.
I told him
Holy
to
shit.
remind
We got
me.
so excited
here's
on our
the
little
thing.
diatribe. But
We're going to
gonna-
announce the winners of the top 3 people who have added to the group. But we need to see some more shares, some more comments. Like, we've got 11 people watching live right now, and that's been bouncing around. Comment down below. Type L if you're watching live.
We'll
Make a
tag
comment.
the winners in this,
Yeah,
too, afterwards.
Well, we should have made they should have been here live.
Present to win.
Present to win.
Present to win. Gotta
That
be
should have
watching to
been
win.
the big asterisk
Yeah.
on that.
Exactly.
But comment down below. Let's share this out a little bit real quick, and then while Force gets his paper ready.
Right.
Okay, here we go.
Is it, oh.
It's, on my, it's just super fancy. It's on my. Somebody texted this to me.
Do we have the numbers?
We do have the numbers.
Are we
Should I
gonna
read the numbers?
Should we?
Yeah, read the numbers.
This is the numbers of actually joined members. So this is not the number of invites sent out, once again, because we had tons of invites sent out. You guys did a great job. We're going to continue running contests like this. So a little tip, make sure that you're communicating with people, right? If you want them to join the group and you want to get value out of them, that's the whole reason we do this, is to get more people in the group that are going to provide value. So if you want more value in the group, make sure you're talking to people about joining the group, right? Don't just invite them, send them a message and make sure that they accept that and get on board. So
And
anyway, yeah.
Chauncey said she's watching live. If the winner isn't on, they shouldn't win. Give me the damn pin.
We're gonna have some arbitration over this then, I guess.
Because we're going to go with third place.
We are going to go with third place. Drum roll. Garbage. Tamara Gady in third place.
Nice.
Nice.
How many she had?
She
I haven't
had
seen the numbers yet either.
36 were accepted.
Nice.
So she sent out hundreds of invites. So that's awesome. Congratulations. You win Vistaprint gift card. Number 2 in your programs, number 1 in your hearts is She's going to be so mad. Chauncey Fan had 56 that actually joined. Excellent work. If you want to know my opinion, I think the second place prize, I didn't plan this out well. The second place prize, I think, is way better than the first place prize. That big old fathead whiteboard, you know how useful those things are? It's going to last you a lot longer than a pen. So, badass. Awesome work. And then Nick Good was number 2. Matt Kellerman was number 1. No,
Yeah, exactly. Sweet, I got my
don't think
pen.
those count.
No, we do
The
not count.
real number 1 with 137 joined members.
She crushed
it. She was on a tear, almost 3 times as many. Patrice DeVille
Nice.
killed it.
Yeah.
So we will be reaching out to everybody. Awesome work, guys. We are going to be running these pretty regularly, so continue to grow the group. And it's for a purpose, guys. The group really does become more valuable when we add members. So
Look, it starts taking a life of its own, right?
Exactly.
So this is for everyone else too to continue sharing what's working, and when we've been making sure to monitor that and not let any spam and and we've been deleting all that shit.
Yep, exactly.
But let's look. We're just a hair shy of 2,000 members.
Yep.
So I do want. I'm leaning back in this chair like
Ooh,
yeah. Like, I do want everyone's help to get to 2,000.
Yeah.
Really soon, and I think we can hit that push in the next couple of days.
Absolutely.
100%.
So
100%.
We do have a cool webinar that we're going to be promoting out. That's something I've been testing here the last couple of weeks to help differentiate ourselves with setting ourselves up different on listing appointments. That has actually, we've taken one listing as a result of it.
Okay.
So we will be getting that out to everyone just so they can see it, and if they like it, I mean, it's a
look
cool,
out for that in the next few days.
It's a cool little product to look into.
Yep. So look out for notifications about that.
Yeah, man. Go to touracademy.com as soon as you can. Derek, take us out, homie.